This episode is rated M for mature audiences. The views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect those of the PFC Entertainment Network or any of the affiliates that make this show possible.
This is the Pure Fury Creations Entertainment Network.
We don't talk about that.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Shh, We Don't Talk About That. I'm Joanna. I'm here with my co-host, Natalie. And this week we're talking about managing holiday expectations. We're actually calling it, can someone call the manager?
Which I think is a great title, considering there's a lot of anticipation and anxiety and kind of panic that comes up around the holidays, especially for people that have been through trauma with their families.
Yes. And, or even disclosing, like you've been through the trauma that didn't involve your family, but then you tried to get support from your family, talk to your family, something like that, and you were invalidated or blamed or cut off or shunned, whatever, or treated in such a way that you felt like you needed to distance yourself for your own mental health protection. And
Right.
all of that stuff happens.
Absolutely.
It's happened to me. And it's something that, like, the first part that I wrote on my notes was like, you have to acknowledge how hard this holidays are hard in a good time, like when you have money and no issues really going on. But then when you add in trauma or health issues or anything like that, or financial woes, but having trauma brain on top of it, like, whoa, that's kind of a clusterfuck there, I think.
Yeah, 100%. Because then it's just, like you said, it increases all that panic and that anxiety inside of you. And then as it gets nearer, like some part of you is like, oh my gosh, it's almost Christmas or Thanksgiving or Halloween or Kwanzaa or Hanukkah, whatever it is that you celebrate. And then the very next feeling is like, oh, but then I got to see family, or I got to interact with people I don't want to. And how am I going to get out of this? And people are going to invite me to all these things, and I don't want to go to all these things. And so then it just increases all of that. And obviously depression is prevalent during the holiday season, more so than any other season. More suicides happen during the holiday season than any other season. So how can we kind of better manage that so we're taking care of ourselves, and you're making sure that you're doing the best you can do for you in spite of what others' expectations may be? Because it's not about what other people want. It's about what's best for you and what's going to help keep you healthy.
Right. And managing those expectations, like finding what makes you calm and happy is part of that.
For sure.
You have to be able to accept, like, if you love putting up your Christmas tree, put up your Christmas tree when you feel like it. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
My daughter has a black one that she puts up for Halloween and decorates it and then puts her Christmas ornaments on it, and they pop and they look amazing. And she loves it. You want to wear Christmas clothes? I'm wearing some Christmas clothes today, but I got Halloween earrings on because Thanksgiving's in the middle. I know, I understand. So, you know, but if that's what makes you happy, do that. Listen to music, take walks, take care of your mental health so that you can manage those boundaries and manage those expectations without trying to do it in a body that's not calm, that's not able to process what it's actually feeling and thinking and experiencing.
Absolutely. And a lot of my clients, over the past couple weeks, one of the questions I always ask is like, do you have Thanksgiving plans? And some of them are like, oh yeah, I'm doing this, that, and the other thing, whatever the case is. And some are like, I don't want to deal with it, whether it's because they have an eating disorder or because they don't want to be around the family that traumatizes them. And they've gotten stronger through therapy. But if I have to engage with people that I'm surrounded with that don't make me feel safe, then that makes me feel weak. That makes me feel like I can't manage it. That makes me feel like I haven't grown at all. So just reminding yourself, like, you choose who is around you. You choose your people, you choose your tribe, you choose your family. And if your family is the one that's causing the most anxiety and panic, choose something different. And if they're mad at you, that's a them problem, not a you problem. Because at the end of the day, the only person that's going to take care of you is you.
And that's absolutely true. And how we talk to ourselves, how we look at ourselves, that all is like the basis for where your mental health is going to start from. So if you are giving yourself space and treating yourself the way that you need to, and allowing yourself to set those healthy boundaries, you're sending that message to that traumatized brain that says, I value you. You are important. You matter. Doesn't matter what anybody else says. I value you. I value myself.
Absolutely.
I value little Joanna or whatever that person is. And you also have to find your tribe though, too. It's not just about, and that doesn't mean it's your relatives.
Absolutely.
Right. And finding your tribe are the people that you do want to spend the holidays with, or that you want to avoid the holidays with, because not everybody wants to engage in holiday stuff. So it's important to find those people that are going to support you in your decisions to remain away from your family, to not engage in those other holiday traditions, to whatever it is. I also thought it was really a really cool thing. When you find your tribe, you make your own traditions.
Yes, traditions are huge. Not even like, obviously everybody grew up with some sort of traditions. And then as you get older, and for those out there that have their own kids, like, then you can create your own traditions. Like a big thing for me when my kids were little was, because I love Christmas. My shit's been up since the middle of September, people. I don't do Halloween. Thanksgiving's just the prep for Christmas. That's all that is. But that's amazing. Like it's a dry run just to make sure we can get through Christmas. But every Christmas Eve, like, I'd sit my kids down and we would watch like Frosty the Snowman, or Kris Kringle, or like the OG, like the really OG Christmas cartoons that would come up. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And then we get to open one present. Like, there would be something specific that's like, this is your present. And I think in the beginning it was probably Christmas pajamas, because then you could go to sleep in the pajamas and wear them the next day. But as they got older, it was like, here's an option. You get this gift or you get this gift. And then when they became adults, at least for my oldest, because then like DVD players and definitely VHS recorders have become a dinosaur, a relic, if you will. But I bought my oldest, like the DVD that had all of those on it. Be like, here's your tradition, even though she never ended up having kids and stuff. But it was like, that was something I loved, and I wanted to give them something different than they grew up with. That whether they keep it or not, that's up to them. But like, I really enjoyed that. And we didn't necessarily have a specific tradition that we did, other than like every other Christmas we went to my aunt's house, which was amazing because I loved going to my aunt's house. Shout out to my Aunt Tommy. Because we always had such a good time, and her family was big and my family was big, and then anybody else that was thrown in the mix, it was family. So while I love presents, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love presents. It's the family that I grew up with, and it was just the warmth, the coming together, the connection that made Christmas for me, even when there's trauma in the family, even when there's uncomfortability with people that would show up. Like, that's what made Christmas for me, was the family and the love that I had from those that I knew loved me and cared about me.
Yeah. And I actually have kind of a similar story, but my background changes radically. When I was very young, we had a Christmas tradition. We all, at my mom's side of the family, we all got together, us kids. There was a Christmas exchange between the cousins. I can remember when we got to start opening our one gift, it was like wrapping paper. A tornado would go through the air. It would just fly.
Right.
And
Right.
then we would have a great dinner. It would rotate from year to year to a different aunt's house. And my daughter was actually born December 23rd. And we got discharged from the hospital on the 24th. And we went from the hospital to my aunt's house to show off the new Christmas baby and to enjoy Christmas. It was such a big part of my life. And when that got ripped away, it was like part of my foundation got taken away. And I had to rebuild that myself.
Yes.
And I'm still in the process of that. But one of the things that we did was we did a Christmas ornament exchange, which I absolutely love. I don't have a huge family now that I spend time with. I'm creating my tribe, but that's one of the traditions that I'm going to try to continue on.
Love that.
Right. And keep that part of my childhood, some reminder of that without keeping the negativity that's attached to it.
Yeah.
And this is where I have to remind myself that just because, and it even doesn't matter that it's an entire family, their opinion of me is something that is different from mine. It's my opinion that matters.
Yes.
I'm the one who's gone through 12 years of mental health recovery. So maybe I'm in a place that they just can't accept. That doesn't mean that they're good or I'm bad or I'm good, they're bad. It means that they are not healthy for me.
Right.
I am not welcome. And I have made peace with that by building my own traditions, my own space, and my own tribe and family that does love and support me the way that I am and accepts me as I am, flaws and all.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I love that. And a lot of people do Friendsgiving and Friends Christmas. Like that has become a much bigger thing.
Yes, it has.
Because our friends are the people that we choose to have in our lives. Those are the ones that we pick to become our family. So doing those Friendsgivings or Friends Christmas or Friends whatever, like that's okay. And that can be enough.
It can be. And, you know, there's that phrasing, blood is thicker than water. And I can't remember what the entire phrase is, but I do remember that the actual translation is, what they're saying is that the blood of battle, the people you choose, is stronger than the water of the womb, the people that you're connected to by biology.
Right.
And that's a lot of times because the people that we come into in our lives later on are able to see us and experience us on a level. They don't have all that lens and shade from behind before we were in recovery, all of our stuff that we went through as a child, all of their preconceptions and prejudices about us. That doesn't happen when you go out into the world and you start experiencing new people. They don't have all that preconceived stuff. So you can start to build a different relationship with people and be seen as you are now versus through a lens of, well, you were a crazy teenager, or you were, you know, whatever, you were a hyper kid, or it doesn't matter. All of that can change when you start to choose your tribe and choose who you want to be around to spend your time with, not just your holidays, but your quality time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
I know there's other really cool traditions that people do.
Yeah, that's what's one of the things I talked about in the in our show notes was there are other countries that have cool traditions. There are other places in the country that have cool traditions that we may not be as. I really liked like Iceland. They do a book exchange on Christmas Eve. I'm a big book reader, so I love that one. Norway, they hide brooms to like keep away evil spirits and the witches and stuff. That could be fun for, especially if you're a Halloween lover. Like that's a way to transition some of that into Christmas. In Japan, they eat KFC on Christmas. So
it's surprising. One, that they have KFC in Japan, but two, why would you choose KFC? Popeyes is far more superior.
Maybe they don't have Popeyes, though. Maybe KFC is the only one who's made it over there. I don't know.
That's
I
good.
just know that
That's
that's what came up. And then the last one that I found that I thought was pretty cool to mention was Venezuela. They go roller skating. So like if you're in a warm climate, maybe that's what you pick to do for that day. You get out and you get some,
Right.
I wouldn't recommend it where we're at in Michigan. Like you probably don't want to go roller skating at Christmas, but I mean, to each their own. We're not going to tell you what to do.
Right. Right. I like that. I know when I was in Hawaii, every Christmas, I think except maybe the Christmas that my parents came to visit. But every Christmas, like we get up in the morning and eat breakfast and open up all the gifts, and then we go to the beach. And we
Yeah.
just hang out at the ocean, and the kids would play in the water and play in the sand, and it was just because, well, you're in Hawaii, so it was beautiful. The weather was beautiful all the time. But that was something cool that we did, and like the beaches were packed because a lot of the islands would come out to the beaches as well. It was pretty cool.
It does. That sounds amazing, by the way. And there's so many things building your own customs and traditions that you can do that you can take from other areas and other places. Like we've said, travel if the place like travel if you want to during the holidays, if that's
Sure.
within your means. Experience different areas, different things, and open up yourself to a much larger world than the one that you have been experiencing, which has been full of pain, rejection,
Absolutely.
trauma, all of those things. When you start experiencing other environments and other people, and they just accept your worth for what it is, not based on somebody
Mhm.
else's opinion, just your inherent worth.
Yeah.
It starts to change everything around you. And I mean, us doing that ourselves, of course, is the most important thing. But when you get that from somebody else, it's like that, oh, this isn't just me saying I'm really worth something. This is also like I'm getting that validation from other people. And it does help reinforce those feelings of like, I matter.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And noticing like when you're feeling that emotional shift and reaching out, whether that means like you need to reach out to your therapist, whether that means you need more sessions, whether that means you need to reach out to your best friend, or at least someone that knows you that you can say, hey, I just need to talk. I just need to get out of my head. I just need to whatever. Like don't, just because everybody has their own lives and has their own thought process and their own tradition, like doesn't mean that nobody has room for anybody else. Because
Right.
we always have room for other people. We always have room, especially for the people that need us and that know us and we know them. Like we're going to make room. So
We
don't
will.
stop yourself from doing it because you think, I don't want to bother somebody. I don't want to ruin their whatever. Only doing that is just keeping yourself isolated, and that's not helping you stay in your growing path. That's reverting you back.
Right. And it's important to respect other people when they say, I have time for you. I want to be in your life. I want to be part of your life and I want to help you.
Yeah. Well, that was weird. You popped away for a minute.
That out. I got a phone call. Yeah. Hopefully Jason can edit that out. Let's see, we're at the 27-minute mark, but if he doesn't, sorry, folks. I'm on my phone.
It happens. It happens.
It happens. It does happen. But like we were saying, it's just basically a matter of making sure that you know what you need, whether that's extra sessions, journaling it out, talking to other people, being around the people who matter the most to you, and making sure that they step up for you, like you allow them to step up for you the way that they say that they are going to. Don't hold back just because you feel like you've got all those thoughts in your head, like I don't deserve it, or I have to be perfect or whatever.
Right.
You got to allow people into your space in order to be a full human. Honestly, we're tribal people. We're meant to be tribal.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And the one thing that I want to talk about too, random acts of kindness amplify.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Others, volunteering, stepping up. When you're feeling at your worst and you step up into somebody else who is in a worse position or in the same position or maybe even a better position, but you're helping them,
Hmm.
it makes you feel better yourself. And when you put that out into the world, I've found always that it comes back to me.
Definitely. Definitely.
So, the energy
And
you
it
put
just,
out
and
there.
it helps you, and you just feel good.
Yeah.
Like, you just feel good, whether it's going to the Salvation Army and feeding the homeless, or walking around and passing out little toys to any of the kids you see in town. Like, whatever that is, dropping off baked goods at your neighbors, going and visiting the elderly in assisted living, because a lot of times the families don't come. Like, whatever it is helps you by helping others. Like, it
Yes.
allows your empathy to grow. It allows your heart to grow. You're no longer the Grinch with the heart that's 3 sizes too small. Like, it's growing anytime you're helping somebody else, and anytime you're giving your love and attention to somebody else for your greater good, not because you feel like they deserve it more than you do, because that's not a thing, but just doing it because it's going to help you feel better, even if it gets you out of your own head to do it. Whatever the reason, try it, do it.
And I mean, what's the worst that's going to happen if you do try it? You help somebody,
Right. Yeah.
and the chances are very slim that you're going to feel worse after helping somebody.
Right.
So it's just one of those things. And it doesn't have to be something as big as volunteering at a soup kitchen. It can literally be just helping somebody unload their groceries when you're walking through the parking lot and you see somebody struggling to unload their cart into their car.
Yeah.
Things like that, random acts of kindness, they amplify.
They do. They really, really do.
Yeah. And it reminds me of like the snowball at the top of the hill that you push down.
Mhm.
And then by the time that it gets down to the bottom, it's just this huge thing.
Yeah.
That's what random acts of kindness can do in your life, for yourself and for other people.
Yeah. Which is fantastic. And why wouldn't
Yeah.
we want that? Why wouldn't we want that?
I mean, I can't think of a reason why other than we feel like we don't deserve it.
Right.
Right. And that's where I think a lot of us have to dig deep and find out, why are we avoiding doing certain things? Why are we avoiding building a tribe? Why are we avoiding getting ourselves out of that slump, getting ourselves out of that hole? What is it that is stopping us from doing that? And
Mhm.
digging deep is not easy, but it is where you'll find the answers.
Yeah. It's the most uncomfortable part about therapy in general, is that
Yeah.
deep digging, because nobody
Yeah.
likes to do it. But
Mm-mm.
once you're there and you're at that place and you're ready for it, the only thing that can come from it is growth and healing.
And I'll say, like, now when I check in and I go, okay, why am I feeling this way? It's much less traumatic feeling. It's much less abrasive feeling. I
Sure.
just go, oh, I'm feeling alone, or I'm feeling unwanted, or I'm, okay,
Yeah.
feelings aren't, I might go through my mind, feelings aren't facts. Like, let's think about this. Where does this come from? And then I dig a little deeper because I've been through enough therapy. Where do I think this is coming from? How old do I feel right now? Is this
Mhm.
something that's coming up from my childhood? Because likely it is. And that oftentimes helps me work through that process so much faster than avoiding it.
Yeah.
You know,
Definitely.
like, there's just nothing. And the calm and the peace that you feel and the pride, because you are able to work through things. I've told my husband, I can't tell you how many times this season already, where I'm like, I am so proud of myself because I
Yeah.
did do X, or I did do Y. The difference, I recognize it. The difference now that I have for how I interact with things that are disturbing or upsetting versus how I did it 10, 20 years ago, night and day.
Mhm.
And the peace and calm that I have in comparison, there's no way to explain it in words. You can't express it to somebody until they experience it themselves. It's like having a kid,
Absolutely.
or losing somebody you love, or you just can't understand what these shifts feel like. But I hope that by talking about it, we can give you hope that you can all achieve it.
Yes, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah.
How do you, maybe not necessarily now, but in the past, how did you manage any expectations that you had about going into family events during the holidays?
So originally, my expectations were I would have to conform in every way. I would have to do whatever was necessary to get through XYZ.
Mhm.
And that would mean behaving a certain way, thinking a certain way about myself the whole time. And
Mhm.
usually that wasn't a positive mindset.
Sure.
And then allowing other people to dictate how the environment and the energy of the space would run, and me just accepting that. And it took a long time, a long process for me to get to a point where I now recognize, like, I can be around somebody who's doing something I don't like and I don't have to participate in it.
Right.
I can be in the same space, the same area, and just politely separate myself and say, no, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody else has a problem with that, then that's their trigger. That's their problem. I am not doing anything wrong. I'm not doing anything disrespectful. All I'm doing is managing my own health and my own mental well-being, my boundaries.
Yeah. And being able to manage those expectations, not just of yourself, but of other people, is not easy to do.
No.
Especially if you're like, okay, I'm going to go into this and it's going to be great. It's going to be wonderful. And everybody's going to be loving and accepting and caring. And then it turns out not. And now you're upset and you're angry and you're pissed and you're depressed. Like, we got to manage those expectations. We got to make them a lot more realistic. And they need to be more about how you're going to handle the situation in which you're put into. Whether that's you saying, I know I'm going to be invited to these 3 things, and 2 of them, I need to find a way to say no, and I need to be okay with that no. And I need to find a way to not apologize for saying no. Whether that's practicing, whether that's writing your script down, whatever the case is, it's okay to say no to things you don't want to go to. And it's okay to have no expectations going into a situation that you normally had expectations for, and focusing on, if this happens, how am I going to manage it? If this happens, how am I going to manage it? Looking at how you're going to handle things that could come up, rather than expecting none of those things to come up, because then we're setting ourselves up for failure.
Or expecting other people to behave a certain way that will then make said experience what you are hoping that it will be.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I think that's a huge thing. And that's one of the things I really had to learn, was I had to go into this and accept people for who they are, not who I wanted them to be, how I wanted them to treat me. I had to go in there knowing, like, this person is very intolerant of my thoughts and beliefs. This person, like, thinks my hair is weird. This person doesn't like my tattoos. And they say something to me about it. And I have to know, if I'm going to go, then I should expect those things. It doesn't mean I have to like it. It doesn't mean I have to engage in it. It just means I should expect those people to behave how they've taught me that they will behave.
Mm-hmm.
And if they change, then great, we can adjust our expectations. But going into it thinking somebody will treat you one way and then all of those expectations get deflated can really bring down your mental health and your mental well-being and increase your depression. So that's where it's okay to not go to family functions, not go to gatherings at work, not participate in any holiday things if you don't want to. And other people should be respecting that boundary. It's okay to not participate, just like it's okay to start early if you want to.
Absolutely.
Nobody should be telling you what makes you happy, what makes you feel the most comfortable, centered, and accepted, unless you're going to them and asking them for their advice or their help or whatever. It's nobody's job to go around and manage you. We're all supposed to be managing ourselves.
Yeah.
And if we do that, then we end up with a much better experience, no matter where we go.
Mm-hmm. I think a good thing, and some of my clients have done this in the past, is, especially once the holidays start. So maybe it's before Halloween, maybe it's after Halloween, but like they take a giant social media break.
Mhm.
They don't post anything. They don't open up any of the apps. They don't engage in any of it. They just take a social media break until after the holidays are over. And then they pick right back up, because then it's not a constant in your face of like, oh, I'm doing this for the holidays. Oh, look at these cute family pictures. Oh, look at the, like, that can increase that anxiety and definitely increase that depression and that isolation and that aloneness. So just don't engage. Just don't engage. Delete the apps, mute the apps, do whatever you need to do, and just let it go. Let the months and the days just go by. Do what makes you happy. If that's roller skating, if that's crafting, if that's going to the movies, if that's sleeping, if that's things watching Netflix, like whatever it is, do what's going to make you happy and not what's going to make other people happy, especially if those people are not prioritizing your well-being in a way that is comfortable. Don't
Right.
prioritize theirs in a way that overshadows your own.
And we're not saying, I think that we need to make sure that people understand, we're not saying I have to do everything that I want and ignore what anybody else wants and just take
Right.
care of my own wants, needs, and desires. What we're saying is you find that healthy boundary, that healthy middle ground, where it says, I'm not going to conform to other people's thoughts, ideas, and beliefs about myself or the holidays or anything else, but I'm still going to engage socially in ways that make me feel comfortable and loved and accepted for who I am. And I'll step back socially when I need to from whatever platform that may be, whether it's people in person or social media platforms. And if you happen to like social media platforms, I find hard to disengage from, especially because of our page. You know, I go on there quite a bit. And those, so I end up finding it starts on my own page. What I remind myself of if I pop in there is none of that's real. It's all a show. It's all a snippet of somebody's life. It is not the entire encompassing picture. I don't care how often they post. I don't care what they're posting about. I don't care what they're saying. You are only getting a small fraction of what is actually going on in that person's life, minds, bodies, whatever.
Absolutely.
So it doesn't matter how perfect their life looks. It may be a shit show behind the scenes, and they're just showing you what they want you to see. Or their life may look very dull, and then you engage with them and find out, well, they just don't post most of their stuff on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. So I think that it's important to remember, like, social media is just like any kind of media. It's an illusion.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of fake news in social media, just like there is in the real news platforms.
Agreed.
It doesn't mean that anybody's life is better than yours. It doesn't mean that anybody's life is worse than yours. It just means that some people want to share things for whatever reason, and other people need to share things.
Correct.
So you may have a need to share things and choose not to because of how it makes you feel, because you don't want the backlash, because you don't want the question, whatever the case is. Like, you can choose what you share and what you don't share. And some of the people on my page, I'm like, God, I haven't seen them post anything in a while. And I go to their page and it's like, it's been 2 years. Okay. Just because you have social media doesn't mean you have to say anything on social media.
Right.
And just because you have social media doesn't mean you need to look at anybody else's information. You can just look at your own stuff. Do a deep dive into the stuff maybe you have posted, the pictures, the ads that pop up, the jokes, the reels. You don't need to focus on what other people are or are not doing, because what is it that I'm trying to say? Like, I know what I'm trying to say. We don't want to focus on what other people are not doing, because if we do, it's taking away from what we have achieved, what we have grown, what we have harvested in our own lives to make ourselves get on that path of being the best people that we can possibly be, regardless of what Cindy Lou Who posts, regardless of whether the Grinch over here hates Christmas and doesn't like that I decorate in the middle of September. I don't care. I don't care. You don't have to like that my shit is all decorated. And I don't have to like the fact that like you love Halloween so much. I don't care. I don't care. Because at the end of the day, Christmas brings me joy. Therefore, I will post about Christmas or I will do things related to Christmas. But if Christmas doesn't bring you joy, what does?
Right.
What is that joy? And how can you cultivate that more so that you're doing what's best for you in those moments?
Right. And that's what it boils down to.
Mm-hmm.
So I've covered my notes. I have nothing else to share on there. I don't know if you have any other questions for me, coming from a therapeutic standpoint of how I would handle things as a patient or not. We've covered a lot of topics, so.
We have. I think we did a really good job. And then reminding yourselves, well, for all of us, and I know we've probably covered it a good handful of times, if not more, on our other episodes, of like remembering that your triggers are your responsibility. Your triggers are not anybody else's responsibility. If mom triggers you, mom's not going to change. So why is mom triggering me so that I can then adjust so that I'm not responding the way that I always have? So I think, I mean, we always talk about triggers and how they are our own responsibility and not someone else's. But the holidays bring up a lot of triggers for a lot of people.
And that's triggers, remembering too, that goes both ways. For instance, if my hair triggers somebody, that is not my problem.
Right.
I did not, it doesn't matter that I have the hair. That's their issue that they need to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
It goes both ways. We manage our own triggers and we expect that other people will manage their triggers. We are not there to manage their triggers as well. We have our own. And there's plenty. So we didn't choose them.
A lot of people are not going to, a lot of people aren't going to change. A lot of people aren't going to do the work, even if we just take your family, for example. Just because you have done all this work to become a better person and managing your triggers and your expectations and increasing your boundaries and taking care of you does not mean that any single member of your family is going to do the same.
Or appreciate that I've done it.
Or appreciate, they're going to fight against it because you have changed the script that they have been given and they do not like it. So they're going to push against it. It is going to become a you problem when it's not. It's not a you problem. It's a them problem because they don't like that you have changed.
Right.
And that's okay. They don't have to.
Correct. That's what it's taken me a long slog to get to. But yeah. I will say that mantra, like, this is not a me problem.
Yeah.
And I'll go through the checklist if I need to. Like, am I doing this? Am I doing that? It's okay. And I'm managing my expectations. And this is not a me problem. If I didn't, a good example, I had an instance that happened not too long ago where somebody told me that I had upset somebody else. That person didn't come to me and say they'd upset me. Somebody else said, you upset that person. So I went to that person and was like, did I upset you? No, I didn't. It turned out everything was fine. And I said to myself, okay, so this is not a me problem. If the person that I've been told I upset said that I didn't, and I don't feel that I upset anybody, it's not a me problem.
Yeah.
And I moved on with my life. That person may still believe that it's a me problem. That's okay. They don't run my life. I run my life. I drive the bus. I run the show. So that's, I think, if we can leave anybody with anything, please remember, like, what behind the curtains of Oz is you.
Yes.
Right? You run the magic. You do it all. So whatever is holding you back, we're allowing it in some way. And whatever we're not reaching for, it's because we're scared and we don't know how to get beyond that. Or we don't feel confident, which would go back to being scared. It does everything goes back to ourselves, our triggers,
Yeah.
our expectations, and how we grow. It's all us.
Mm-hmm. I was talking to a client. What was it about? Something about that. Damn it, where did it go? It was something about staying stuck or or feeling like they were being a victim and not wanting to be a victim and just taking, well, I put myself in that position, so therefore it's my fault. If I go to my family and they treat me terribly, it's because I am terrible. And trying to differentiate the difference between kind of staying stuck in, I'm just going to take all the responsibility because I don't want to be a victim and blame other people, versus being able to see you came from something and what you came from shaped you into who you are. And now that you know how you are and the way that you are is based on where you came from, and you choose to change to be better, not a victim. You're not a victim. You're working to survive and thrive despite where you came from. But if you came from a place and you know you came from that place and everybody is at fault for you being where you are and you're not doing anything to change it, now you're staying a victim. So looking through the holidays of like, okay, I know that I'm stronger than I was last year. I know that if I go and put myself into this particular party or this particular environment, I'm going to feel a lot of guilt or a lot of shame, or I'm going to try to shrink myself down. Stop. Look at why you believe that. Is there anything you can do different other than skipping the party that will help you regain some of your power in an effort to either A, attend the party, or B, put up the boundary that says, I'm not going to the party because I don't have enough of the tools to do what I need to do to keep myself safe if I go to said party, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, you either figure out how to go to the party and manage your own self, your expectations, use those tools, or you don't blame yourself for not having it. You just say, this is not the place for me. It's not healthy for me. And it's okay to just say that. It's not healthy for me.
It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It is very okay.
So, yeah. And I think that's where people will find the most calm and peace in the holidays, is if you can just understand, this is where I'm at right now. This is what I'm willing to do. This is what I'm capable of doing. And I'm not willing to accept these things. And that's okay. It's okay. It's okay to set your boundaries. It's okay to determine that you have the same worth as anybody else, because you do. Nothing and none of these things that we're talking about, if you do or don't do, none of it changes our worth, people. We have to remember that our inherent value is the same for everybody, no matter what you've done, who you are, where you're at in life. We all have inherent value as human beings.
Absolutely.
So nobody can diminish that or take that from you unless you allow it.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's I think that this is a good place to wrap up and end, because I feel like we've covered all of our topics, and I want to leave people with that last message of like, you have the power.
Yes. It is all within you.
Yep.
Just like Dorothy had in Oz. The power was within her all along to get back home.
That's right.
You just have to find it and then believe in it enough to get you to the next steps, because this is about you being the best you that you can be, not what other people expect you to be or want you to be or put you in the role of being.
There's that saying, fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
I like to say, believe it till you live it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, just believe it, and then one day you'll be living it. and you won't even know. Sometimes you don't even know how you got there. You just kind of look back and go, whew, that was fast.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
Or that was terrible. But
Yeah.
like now I'm here. And it feels good once you're able to get there. Once you're able to start to see that glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel, then that becomes your focus. Like, I need to get to that light, because at that light, even though I have to go through the dark tunnel of horrors to get there, is what's going to make me stronger and me more empathetic and me more nurturing and caring to myself in order to be the best me that I can be. So yeah, I like that. Believe it till you live it.
Yeah. We have the power. So just believe it until you live it. All right. Well, if anybody would like to follow us on our Facebook page, that's Shh, we don't talk about that. And it's SSHHHH. So it's a little bit hard to find sometimes, but it'll pop up if you keep searching for us. And you'll see our avatar on there. And on that page are ways to connect with us. We have an email that you can connect with us right now. And then you can also message us through Facebook if you need to. We always encourage our listeners to reach out, give us show topic ideas if they want, feedback on any shows. We'd love all of that. So feel free to reach out to us. We'd really love to hear what you think about the show and what we're doing right and what you'd like to hear more of.
Absolutely. I definitely agree. And I hope that whatever your decision is over the next week or so, I hope everybody has a happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So where's the manager? Right here.
Exactly.
All right. Well, it's been a wonderful chat with you. And
As always.
I just hope you have the best holiday, and I look forward to seeing you in person soon. I want to see that face.
Same. Absolutely. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving. And yeah, we will definitely be connecting very soon.
I will have a great Thanksgiving. You take care, Nat.